Okay, so this is the completed 8 by 36 inch Z scale switching layout. I have my container of rolling stock cards and locomotive, and I'm ready to operate. Before I do an operating session, let me just talk about what I've done here. I've gone ahead and added ground foam, static grass, some other foliage material, as well as this structure here in the back and this loading area. I didn't ballast any of the track, as you can see, so this way it'll be very easy to keep clean, very simple and straightforward, to maintain this. So let me quickly take you through how I got the layout completed to this point, and then we'll do our operating session. So I built this base in the last video, got the track installed, the wiring done, and now I'm doing some very basic scenery. So what I did was I built this little Z-scale warehouse structure, and this is something that I basically built for free, more or less. I had a Team Track Models kit in N scale for a warehouse like this. That's a paper kit that you just download, print out, and then glue together. So I printed it to 75% scale, so it would be roughly Z scale, and then basically cut out the pieces, glued them to a piece of cardboard, which I then glued to a piece of gator board for added stiffness and to give it a little bit of depth. And you could just use foam core board as well, but I have a lot of gator board around, and so I use that. And then basically I added a piece of styrene on the top to kind of give a uniform top edge, and then I just put some half round to kind of simulate downspouts and added a little bit of weathering powder. So it doesn't look fantastic, but it's Z-scale. You don't have to be super detailed because everything is so small anyway. And so it'll serve its purpose of being a background structure. Because this Rokuhan track is on a roadbed, and it would be really tall roadbed in real life, the loading doors are a little too low relative to what the boxcar height would be. And so what I did was I had basically this tubular styrene, and so what I'm going to do, I just painted it black. I'm going to glue that in place on here, and that basically matches roughly the height of the roadbed, and that will move up the loading doors to an appropriate height for the rolling stock. And so I'm just going to go ahead and glue that in place. I also glued in a couple pieces of chipboard here to build up this area here, and then I painted another piece of concrete color, and then that will get glued in place on here, and this will be a loading area. But before I do that, I do want to add a little bit of weathering powder to this to kind of dirty it up and make it look a little bit more realistic. And I could do expansion joints and everything else, but I'm not really going to go into that much effort for this project. So I want it to be just pretty simple. I'm just going to brush in different colors, do a little bit of the black. I can come back and take some gray and kind of lighten it up and blend things together a bit. And this will just serve as like a Team Track type loading area for anything. So you can basically spot whatever cars you want in this area here. Anyway, let me go ahead and get all these things glued in place, and we'll go from there. I'm just going to use some of this tacky glue to glue everything down. I can glue this structure in place. I'm not covering how I built this paper structure just because I did that in another video a while back on how these kits assembled. So I'll have a link somewhere on how you assemble these paper structures. It won't be this particular one, but it'll be a different warehouse type structure using the Team Track Models kits. And there's other types of paper kits available as well. So this is definitely a low cost way to get some structures for your layout. Just going to take some of my blocks here, get that pressed in place nicely. I can go ahead and get this glued on. And it probably would have been better to use some styrene on here for this top layer, but I don't have any sheet styrene left. I just didn't want to have to go out and buy anything for this project. So everything I'm doing here is stuff besides the track, which I had previously bought. Everything here is all this stuff I have on hand, so trying to make this a zero additional cost layout. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just paint on a diluted mix of white glue and put on some ground cover across all this area in here, and I masked off the front edge so there's none on the very front edge. I'm just going to keep it very simple. I'm going to use some Woodland Scenic Splendid Turf, add some 2mm static grass, and then I'll add some coarser ground turf along the back edge here. Probably that's going to be about it. I want to have everything glued down really well. Probably soak everything with glue again afterwards as well. This is just glue with some water added to it. No specific ratio. I might change it. I just want to make it paintable essentially, because regular glue is just too thick to paint effectively. It's hard to get a nice smooth coating, so just trying to get something that's easy to spread around. I'm actually going to mix up some of my ballast mix with the turf for this area through here. Something like that. This area in here is going to be pretty thick just because I want to hide the gap between the base of the structure and the bottom here. I'm just going to use the blended turf on the remainder of this area here. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and add another layer of diluted white glue on top of here to really secure things. I'm going to spray everything with some alcohol first as a wetting agent so everything soaks in good. But I need to protect my paper structure, so I'm going to hold some cardboard up against it before I spray over here. Next, I'm getting out the static grass, load up my Static King applicator. And I'm just going to try to do this area over here towards the front. All right, I'm going to let all that dry, vacuum everything off. What I'll probably do is come back and add in a little bit of glue here between these tracks and add some more static grass, and then probably do that along some of this area over here, but I don't want it everywhere. And so I want to let everything dry. Then I can just put glue down where I want the additional grass and then apply some more, and that should be fine. But I'll come back maybe in a half hour or something, see if the glue's starting to dry a little bit, and then I can pull the tape off. If I wait till it's fully dry, I'm not going to get the tape off. It's just going to tear. So I have to kind of time it just right so I can get it off, without tearing any of it, but also not have, still have glue running off of it. So we'll see if I can do it. What I'm going to do now is just take some coarse turf, take some white glue, and I just want to run a bead of that here along the back edge, and then put some coarse turf along there, just to kind of hide that seam in there. Okay, everything's dry, but the structure is peeling away from the gator board base here, so I have to add a little tacky glue in here and see if I can get that solidly reattached. Paint it in there. Block against there, hold that in place. Last thing I want to do is add a little bit of white glue along the base of the structure, add a little bit more of this ground foam. I'm going to do a couple little of these patches of coarse ground foam here and there through here to kind of dress it up a little bit. White glue here on some cardboard and use that. If I try to use a nozzle, it's just going to make too big a mess, I think. Some of this ground foam in here actually isn't even fully dry yet. It's been a day, but the problem is it's been really humid because we've had all the storms out here last couple of days, and last night was pretty exciting with all the tornadoes around, but time to do more layout work. Part of the reason I want to add the shrubs along the base here and the glue is just to prevent the bottom of the structure from peeling up. Since it is just paper stuck onto some cardboard, that might in time start peeling up a little bit at the base, but the glue will hold that down, as will the little bits of foam. So that should hopefully help make it a bit more solid. Just trying to shove the foam into the glue, and then obviously after that dries I can just vacuum up all the excess. I'm trying to make this somewhat irregular, so I'm going to put static grass here, and I don't want to have perfect uniform straight lines or anything. But I'm just going to dab a couple spots here and there for more ground foam. Try to hit the areas that have little gaps in the scenery or whatever. Alright, Static grass. Alright, things are cleaned up, and then I'll vacuum up loose foam here and everything else once all this dries later today. But then that'll be it, and this simple little project will be wrapped up. Okay, so for the operating session, just a matter of getting my car cars out and getting all of my rolling stock on the track. I can just set this up in any random order that I want. Okay, so there's two ways that I operate this. One is as a traditional Inglenook type switching puzzle where I have 8 pieces of rolling stock on the layout, and I have to produce a set of 5 cars in a particular order on this track here. And the other way is just simply to have a particular arrangement of cars where maybe I have to have 3 in certain loading spots here, and then maybe 1 here, 1 there, whatever. And I can do that with fewer than 8 cars to take away all of the puzzle aspect and just do it kind of as a regular operating session. And I've discussed this before, but basically what I have are cards for each piece of rolling stock on the layout. So for these, I just took pictures of all the rolling stock, printed everything out on a piece of self-adhesive label paper, stuck that to some cardstock, and then cut them out, and I have all of these cards, and some of them are blanks. So 8 of these cards have a picture of a piece of rolling stock, and the other 4 are blank. And so if I'm doing a regular session where I'm not trying to do the complete Inglenook game, I basically can just shuffle these, deal them out, put them in place where they're supposed to go on the layout, or lay them in front of things. And then so maybe some will be blank, some will have cards, and then I can just move the cards to match those locations. Here I'll just do the regular Inglenook where I have to try to put 5 cars in a particular order on this back track. So I'll take out the blank cards, put those aside, my screwdriver rolled away. So I will just deal these out, and these are the order that I want to have them. And I have this little lip in the structure so I can actually set the cards on top of the roof of the structure and just leave them there so I know which way to order the cars. No. Okay, so now the car matches the graffiti picture, and then these just don't matter. So what I should do is take pictures of both sides of the cars and put them on either side of these so I can just flip the card around instead of flipping the rolling stock around. Alright, now we can get going. Doing this outdoors may have been a bad idea. Alright, we'll try our best here. It's hard with all the cotton falling everywhere. So instead of just doing it where you have to put 5 cars in the back in a certain order, you could do it where you deal out some blank ones as well. And then maybe you have to put cars in a specific location on these front 2 tracks as well. So different ways that you can sort of do things. And it makes there's thousands of combinations you can do with this in terms of the car order. So you can do this over and over and over again and never do the same exact operating session more than once. And so it's a lot of fun. Anyway, that's a look at the small Z-scale switching layout. This is a very easy build to do yourself, and it's a lot of fun to have a layout like this. And you could build it in N-scale or HO, it would just be bigger. but very portable, very easy and quick to have a short operating session with a layout like this, and a lot of fun if you enjoy switching puzzles or just simple operations in a small space. But anyway, that's all for now, and thanks for watching. Bye.